While the Israelites were traveling in the wilderness, they found themselves suffering from deadly hunger. They could not find any food in the desert. The people complained against Moses and Aaron, accusing them of trying to kill them with hunger. So God promised to send bread from heaven at the hand of Moses. The Israelites had never seen anything like it. They called it manna, which means, "What is it?" It was white like the coriander seed and sweet like honey. When the people gathered the manna, it perfectly satisfied the needs of the people and delivered them from death to life. Moses proclaimed, "This is the bread from heaven. Gather what you need for only one day, for we must learn to trust God to provide our daily bread." Still, some people tried to save the manna overnight. When they abused the manna this way, it bred crimson worms. But there was one exception. God told Moses to place a golden jar of manna in the Ark of the Covenant, inside the tabernacle, as a reminder of God's faithfulness. It miraculously never saw corruption. Thus, every day for 40 years, God provided daily bread to perfectly satisfy the needs of Israel in the wilderness. Does this story point to Jesus? One day, Jesus would be with 5,000 people in the wilderness who found themselves suffering from deadly hunger. But unlike Moses, who relied on God to provide bread for the people, Jesus provided bread for his people from his very own hands. For he was Moses' God. When the disciples gathered the leftover bread, it perfectly satisfied the needs of all the people, including themselves. After the meal, Jesus said, "I am the bread of life that came down from heaven." He was claiming to be the true manna, while the Israelites ate the manna in the wilderness and eventually perished. Those who partook of his bread would eat and live forever. The people had never heard anything like Jesus' teaching and asked themselves, "What is this?" Like the manna, Jesus' words were sweet like honey from the honeycomb. In time, Jesus gave the flesh of his body to be broken like bread in order to deliver us from death to life. When the people abused the flesh of his body on the cross, Jesus became like the crimson worm. But after 3 days, Jesus arose from the grave. And like the manna in the golden jar, Jesus' body never saw corruption. Now we can give thanks to the Lord, who began his earthly ministry by suffering 40 days of hunger in the wilderness, so he could provide us with daily bread that we might eat and live forever.